What's up, guys? It's your boy Jay White, and welcome to another video. Today, this is my first reaction video, so if you're watching this, like and subscribe. So today we're reacting to How Strong is Hypersonic by Beware. So I saw this cool video, and I didn't want to leave y'all out. So here we are. So let's start right now. I hope y'all like this video. If you like it, like and subscribe.
How strong is hypersonic? Is it even possible to scale this form? After all, hypersonic has been retconned as non-canon and only shows up in a single game from 30 years ago, with virtually no feats for us to measure. But despite that, I think I've sussed out every possible way we could answer this question, and the final answer I arrived at is probably going to blow your mind. I could hardly believe it myself once I started fitting the pieces together. It made very clear to me why Sega doesn't include the form in modern games, but I'm getting ahead of myself. What even is hypersonic? Appearing as the secret unlockable secondary transformation in Sonic 3 and Knuckles, Hyper was only available after you collected all 7 Chaos Emeralds, then collected each of them again as they transform into the gigantic Super Emeralds. An even further upgraded form of the glowing golden Supersonic, Hypersonic rapidly flashed the colors of all 7 emeralds, left after images everywhere he moved, had an aura of bursting sparks all around him, and could even life wipe every enemy on the screen with a special mid-air attack. The transformation is undeniably awesome, but its one appearance is also pretty simple. So what makes it so hard to scale? Well, our only way to measure Hypersonic is to compare his power to Sonic's previous form, and the enemies in the game. Like Supersonic, Hypersonic is invincible to all traditional forms of damage. Plus, he has an enhanced movement speed and jump height, and the ability to effortlessly walk through destructible walls that would normally require a spin dash to break. He has the previously mentioned Hyper Flash, which wipes all enemies on screen in an instant, and most interestingly, unlike Supersonic, Hyper can survive underwater without needing air. And that's it. Seriously, with Base and Supersonic, we have another 30 years of games to analyze for speed and strength, feats and statements. Sonic outruns a black hole? Cool, we can calculate exactly how fast that is. Supersonic beats Perfect Chaos, who destroyed an entire city and almost the world. Awesome, we have an idea of how strong he must be. But Hypersonic just doesn't have any of these examples to draw from, and should be basically impossible to scale. But I don't give a shit. I'm gonna do it anyway. The way I see it, there are essentially 4 schools of thought on how to do this. I'll be going through each one and explaining how legitimate they all are, starting with the naming.
If y'all can notice, it's already dark. I'm doing my best to finish this video and get back inside. When it comes out with noisy, so I just decided to get
Method. Sonic the Hedgehog is named after the concept of sonic speed, or how fast sound moves through the air. It has a definite, measurable velocity. His transformations are also based on this concept. So, transonic is approaching the speed of sound at 343 meters per second. Supersonic means something that surpasses the speed of sound. And hypersonic is when something travels at 5 to 10 times the speed of sound, about 1700 meters per second at a minimum. If we extrapolate from this, maybe the hypersonic form is simply as the name implies, 5 to 10 times faster and stronger than supersonic. Honestly, this would be a very easy answer that solves the whole thing in a snap, but unfortunately, there are some pretty big errors with this way of thinking. Basically, Sonic is meant to be represented by sound speed, and Supersonic represented by supersonic speeds. Great, that would mean Supersonic is capped at only being 5 times stronger than Sonic, and that is obviously incorrect. We'll get into the specifics later, but Supersonic is easily hundreds, thousands, maybe even millions of times faster than base Sonic on the low end. And the same is true of his strength. If the name is not an accurate signifier of his super form, why would we trust it to describe his hyper form accurately? This one just falls apart when you think about it. Next, this method I thought was actually pretty clever. All we need to do is boot up our Genesis and play the same level as both Supersonic and Hypersonic, measuring which of the two travels faster, specifically by calculating pixels traveled in a single second. From there, we should have a definitive multiplier, right? Well,
There's no way you're calculating pixel travel.
This one was tough for a few reasons. First, the game is, believe it or not, actually designed around being fun and challenging instead of doing stupid calculations. So there aren't any long stretches of flat land for us to actually test this out. I tried isolating different variables, taking a stopwatch to each of them as they spun around the same loop-de-loop in various levels, but that requires some pretty precise inputs, and you're combating the physics of flying up a wall instead of moving straight. Eventually, I had to give in and see that some much smarter nerds had something better to say. Those with access to the game data have the raw numbers, and as it turns out, Hypersonic does accelerate faster than Supersonic, but they both have the same top speed value. Frickin' heck, man, I thought for sure this one would give me something to work with, but we can't calculate their difference in strength through pixel measurements. Although the good news is the next theory actually has some real legs. Going back to the drawing board, we need to consider how these transformations function. Sonic achieves a super form by using these 7 Chaos Emeralds all together at once, and we see a similar super form, glowing golden power, flight, invincibility, the whole shot, achieved by Mecha Sonic on the Sky Sanctuary using only the Master Emerald. And this makes sense considering what we know in the lore, that the Master Emerald has the power to neutralize the Chaos Emeralds, meaning the one big gem and the 7 smaller gems have roughly equivalent power. And because Hypersonic uses the Master Emerald to power up the Chaos Emeralds into Super Emeralds, then maybe the Hyper form is as simple as stacking 2 super forms, one from the Chaos Emeralds, one from the Master Emerald, on top of one another. That makes sense, right? So how do we scale that? The first way is very simple. The Master Emerald gives a super form, the Chaos Emeralds give a super form. That means 2 super forms. Hypersonic is as simple as a 2 times multiplier on top of Supersonic. Clean, straightforward.
You know what I think, y'all? I think that Supersonic is... No, Hypersonic is Supersonic Super. Y'all buying that? Shit, it's getting dark out here. Don't worry. We'll finish the video. It's for me. Don't worry.
Easy. It's almost too easy. Yep, there is a flaw in this logic too, but trust me, you're gonna be really happy with what this one implies. Consider that Sonic doesn't just use the Master
in my room, but it's noise inside.
and Chaos Emeralds at the same time. It's not an addition of 2 super forms. Instead, he allows each Chaos Emerald to be transformed by the Master into a Super Emerald, an entirely new entity, and once all 7 are transformed, only then can he become Hypersonic. Still don't get it? Let me put it another way. The Chaos Emeralds transform into Super Emeralds the same way Sonic transforms into Super Sonic, and then Sonic uses all 7 of them. He's not doubling the original power-up, he's squaring it. Yeah. So what does that mean? I think the difference between Super and Hyper isn't a simple 2 times multiplier. No, it is a gigantic leap, an exponential increase on the exact scale between Sonic's base form and his super form. Hypersonic is when Supersonic goes super. And now that we've finally figured out how to calculate it, it's time I answer the question you clicked for. How strong is Hypersonic? First, we need to find the approximate multiplier between base Sonic and Supersonic. Is it an increase of 10 times, 100, a million? To find Sonic's best feats in base form, we can dig into the games and their manuals, which I covered extensively in this video here, where I wanted to see if he could beat the villains from Dragon Ball Z. We know from this conversation with Omega, as well as the game manual for Sonic Unleashed, that Sonic can rather easily surpass the speed of light, which tracks with his best speed feat in base form, running along the outside of Eggman Nega's spacecraft in Sonic Rivals. We can use the stars in the background, triangulating their movement to the position of the ship, along with the knowledge that the average distance between stars in the Milky Way is about 5 light years, to calculate the speed of this ship as 546 million times faster than light. And Sonic is able to move along its surface, even reacting to and dodging meteors crashing into it, meaning he has reaction speed and movement equal to or greater than the speed of the spaceship, more than 500 million C. Now that might seem outrageous, it tracks pretty nicely with Sonic's best strength feat. In Sonic Battle, Eggman creates the final Egg Blaster, Blaster, an orbital death cannon that fires a laser capable of wiping out multiple solar systems at the very minimum. Shortly after this, the android Emerald absorbs the power of the final Egg Blaster and transforms into Ultimate Emerald. Sonic then battles Ultimate Emerald and beats him in under 30 seconds. This means that Sonic displayed, at a minimum, multi-solar system attack potency and durability. So, we can clock base Sonic at far beyond the speed of light with the power to destroy solar systems. Supersonic can't be that much of a buff, right? Strap in. In Sonic Rush, Supersonic and Burning Blaze fly from Earth to a separate dimension to battle Eggman and Eggman Nega. We see them soar through space and pass by galaxies until they reach the edge of the observable universe and enter a separate plane, all in 8 seconds, with a travel speed of roughly 180 quadrillion times faster than light. But before you get your calculator out, the very concepts of speed and strength sort of become nebulous as Supersonic really gets going. He battled the Time Eater in the final act of Sonic Generations, a fourth-dimensional being that transcends and tears apart the timeline, and exists in its own extra-dimensional domain outside of time-space. That makes them fourth-dimensional in attack potency. If you don't know what that means, dimensions are orders of infinity, so the smallest three-dimensional space is inherently greater than an infinite two-dimensional space. As Supersonic steps into the fourth dimension of speed and strength, these stats literally cannot be qualified or quantified in the third dimension anymore. They're more than infinite. He moves an infinite 3D distance instantly. And this isn't even the peak. In Sonic 06, Supersonic defeats Solaris, a super-dimensional deity beyond time that was tearing apart the fabric of reality, could attack the past, present, and future simultaneously, and was ending every single timeline, an infinite number of them. Sonic won that fight with the help of Silver and Shadow, but the Sonic 06 guidebook even states that Supersonic alone is more powerful than Solaris. So that places Supersonic as high complex multiversal, or fifth dimensional, immeasurable movement speed, and acausal destructive capability. So, taking a step back, the jump from Sonic to Supersonic isn't a simple multiplier in strength and speed. It's not even orders of magnitude stronger. It's multiple orders of infinity stronger. Supersonic is specifically a minimum of 2 orders of infinity stronger than his base form. I say minimum because there is one way to scale him even higher. In Sonic Frontiers, the end peers into Sonic's mind and claims to be infinitely more powerful than any of the gods or monsters he's faced in the past. Now, Sonic did canonically beat Solaris, but it's unclear whether he remembers it or not. If he does remember that erased timeline, then the end saw that fight and still wasn't impressed, making it a sixth-dimensional being. And Supersonic would be too, meaning the superform multiplier is, at the high end, 3 orders of infinity. And so, now that we've done the math, after all this work, we can finally answer the question, how strong is Hypersonic? Assuming the use of Super Emeralds really does mean that Supersonic is undergoing the same level of monumental power increase, Hypersonic is between 7 and 9-dimensional power. That might sound meaningless to you, but let me put it this way. Imagine an infinite universe just like our own. Now imagine that this is but a single dot in an infinite multiverse of timelines, okay? Now imagine that multiverse is yet again another tiny speck in an infinite ocean of multiverses. We'll call this a megaverse. And then that gigantic megaverse ocean, that's a single tiny speck in a final infinite expanse we'll call an ultraverse. Hypersonic can wipe out this entire ultraverse of infinite timelines with essentially 0 effort. That is 7th dimensional power, the low end. Perhaps this level of complex...
I ain't gonna lie, when I heard 7th-dimensional power, I didn't take it as nothing. Bro, look how black I look. Oh, dude, I am black, but not this black.
Multiversal power still isn't clicking for you. If I could give some examples from fiction, Mr. Mxyzptlk, the 5th-dimensional imp that regularly dunks on Superman himself, Hypersonic stomps, negative difficulty. Ben 10 and his supposedly unstoppable Alien X, not even a blip on the radar.
X is not unstoppable.
Wally West, the Flash, he'd need to absorb, literally, the entire Speed Force into himself. And even then, these two would still be pretty evenly matched. It would take the likes of a fully fed Galactus or the Beyonder to get Hypersonic to take a fight seriously. Literal, godly beings who rule over the laws of reality. If Hypersonic is really this powerful, it's no wonder Sega doesn't want him around anymore. He would completely break any game he's in, thoughtlessly deleting his enemies from existence with a wave of his hand.
Thank y'all for watching this video. Subscribe to Beware, and that's it for the video. I hope y'all enjoyed it. Like and subscribe, and tune in for the next one.